Hey YouTube, the reason why I'm doing this video is to talk about memory, and how people get away with so many different things. It's not just the oppression, it's the memory. A lot of us can't remember. You know how people always used to scream, forgive and forget, forget, forgiving and forgetting. You need to remember. These people don't care. That's not God's will for you to forget what's taking place. I know it's written, people always throwing that Bible stuff and like, oh, well, forgive and forget, throw it into the lake of forgiveness. I understand, even if you forgive, that does not mean you need to forget. You have to remember. The abuse cycle continues to go on if you do not remember what's taking place. But it's not your fault if you forget. I can personally tell you one incident. I swear, I said I would never use this company for doctor visits or anything because of certain things happening. I caught myself going to a job interview and having to do a urine test. And I realized when I did the urine test that I didn't remember to not utilize that company because of what was going on and the things that they do and their beliefs. Remind you, we are fighting a losing battle. This is not just small stuff, this is big stuff. This is not something that you play with, because at the same time, we are fighting against memory. We're fighting against people trying to take control of us, our entity, our belief, our thought process, the way we deal with things, the way we analyze things. There is no way in hell that a person is just going to sit there and allow you to abuse them. But if you don't remember that abuse, you may just well sit there and allow them to abuse you. This stuff is taking on a whole different monster, and it's becoming habitualized. That's why they don't care. They never did time for the crimes, because guess what? No one verbalized it, no one recorded or reported it. And if recorded or reported it or reported, it will seem as though you aren't thinking logical, or as if there is an issue there, because a lot of the times when the person that you have to go to record it, they are aware that these type of incidents are going on. Their job is to cover for the people that are doing it. So a lot of times you're going to, okay, you're having memory issues because for some weird reason constantly your memory is being erased because people are constantly doing abusive and assaulting things to you. You go to the amnesia people, or the people for dementia and amnesia, or not being able to remember these associations. You go there to get an evaluation. It's not looked at in the appropriate manner. The medication isn't going to work. You're only going to find yourself getting worse. And the reason why you're getting worse, you're going to the people that are doing the abuse. They know that they're doing the abuse. They're only recording that you had to come to them while they abuse you. Pretty much everything that's operating around you is operating within this network of abuse. So many different things happen. I know, like, people always talking about, okay, well, if stores have an agreement, or if stores have this, then don't go to the store, just use the food pantries, right? There was so many different attacks to prevent people from utilizing things that was free to them and other free services. Last night I was woken up to why things, when it got corrected, it was the way that it was. I remember back in the days when people would pick stuff up off the trash pile, clean it up, like it be thrown out in front of the yard or whatever, um, on the trash pile. People would get it off the trash pile and take it and put it in their car or whatever, and fix it up for the purposes of fixing up their house because they could not afford to go and buy furniture, so they got things off of the dumpster. When they begin to get stuff off the dumpsters and out of the trash cans, you would have people call the cops, follow them home, call the cops, and say that they stole from them. And these people was being arrested. When people was eating at the food pantries, they was like, look, the store policies or whatever, or they couldn't afford the food that was at the actual stores because they weren't allowed to get hired. Because just because you fill out that application and you agree to those terms and conditions doesn't mean that you're going to get hired. But they weren't able to get hired, they weren't able to be productive and be successful as people. So what happened, they started eating at the food pantries, started working for the organizations and everything. The food pantries, they started getting sick eating the food at the food pantry. So the food pantries cut off giving out food for quite some time. This history they don't document. There's no paperwork on. I don't. I think that there's paperwork on it, but I know that at this point I have seen them get rid of a lot of documentation that says that there are problems and there are red flags. So a lot of the times, what we would normally do to get rid of the problem, they're trying to stop. That the blinding, using devices to blind people to prevent them from seeing who's around them, what's around them, to keep them motionless and stuff like that. All of these devices in which they use to do these things with is to prevent your progression. Okay, what were you taught when a person called themselves being aggravating, rude, trying to be a bully? You was taught to walk away, get from around the person, and that's how you get rid of the problem. But what happens when you can no longer get away from them or get around them? You have to now face this problem head on. And there's no telling if the way that you're going to deal with the issue is going to be in the manner in which other people like. Because at that point, you have really no control over the situation or how you will respond to it in time. But this is what people are going through. every Everyday people are going through these types of attacks, even in their home and stuff like that. People who are saying they're their family is not their family. People that are supposed to be who they supposed to be are not who they supposed to be. When you can say that your eyesight is so blinded that a stranger can come in from off the street, pretend to be someone close to you, and do bodily harm to you, it becomes a major problem. And you are viewing this person as a family member and not an outsider. And don't get it twisted as though your family will not be involved in it, because I know they will. Because they want you to join certain groups, certain organizations, certain secret societies that you have chosen not to be a part of. And you chose your path for a reason, because you were thinking wise, you were thinking with reason. They weren't. So when they chose to join into that hoism crowd, when they chose to join into that cult that cult in which they joined into, you chose not to. And I can honestly say, although at some point these people elevate and progress, or whatever the case may be, way beyond what you would, it does not mean that that is the best decision. See, I have to acknowledge people that sometimes, even in making the best decision that you could possibly make for yourself, it comes with suffering and consequences. Because you making this decision does not mean that, oh, I did the right thing, so I'm supposed to be rewarded. Yeah, you're supposed to be rewarded because you did the right thing, right? Not all the time. Sometimes your reward is some headache, some trouble. And that's when it hurts. That's when you like, man, oh, I'm doing everything right, but everything's going wrong. I'm not reaping my harvest. My harvest say I'm conservative, but at the same time I'm reaping the harvest of a person that's not conservative, a person that's loose and doing God knows what. Why am I reaping the harvest of a person that's out in the world doing everything and I'm doing none of the things that they're doing? It's a reason why you got people around you, exes, dudes you used to date and used to think highly of, or whatever the case may be, that you would have married, probably said that you were going to marry and didn't marry. You got them, you got their family members, you got so many different things around you trying to impact you because you don't want them no more. You have made your path and made your decision to want yourself more than you want them. You have made a decision to actually stand up for yourself and say, look, I'm worth so much more. But guess what? You find out that these people didn't just now start doing this, that they've been doing it for quite some time. To you, your family, your community, people around you, and everything. They have been habitual with it, with the abuse of what's been taking place with you. I can honestly tell you now, at one time, I was feeling raped while I was asleep, honestly. And when I felt it, I was thinking, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just not able to wake up and this is not really, really happening to me. Come to find out, it is really happening to you. You need to notify the authorities. You need to do something or whatever. But sometimes the authority are involved in it. But now you have to ask the question, are you really seeing clearly? Because guess what? Nowadays, they can block certain communications on your phone. They can block certain things that you do interaction with over the internet and everything. I remember dating this one guy, and honestly, I thought he was the greatest guy in the world because of his personality, the way he comes across, his demeanor about himself, and plus we knew each other since I knew him like younger or whatever, seen him around, we hung out a little bit or whatever the case may be. But guess what I found out? His family was garbage people who was a part of this mess that was going on, who knew what was happening to you, what was happening with you, and stuff like that. And they aid and abet each other in this type of behavior. You're not going to tell me you are another woman, but you have seen so much that you're scared to even act on what you see. You're scared to even say, look, man, that behavior ain't right, man. To your own family member. This, man, waking up to all the things that I woke up to and know is a frightening thing. It's not an easy go. To wake up and see that people that's supposed to help you, these systems and all this stuff that's put in place that's supposed to help you, is not helping you. They play patty cake, they play all these different games, and the reason why you consistently go through this abuse is because of something going on not really triggering appropriately in your brain and your thought process, and it's not your fault. It's them. It's that manipulation. It's that device. These people have studied the brain process. They studied stimulation of the brain. They studied how if you sit up there and you send a small electric shock to this part of the brain, the body will respond and do this type of behavior and stuff like that. And they're very much aware of this type of stuff. Don't take it for granted. Don't be ignorant or naive. And they tell you to your face they refuse to release you and let you go. So this is a process of slavery. and no one will verbalize it, no one will vocalize it, or whatever the case may be. Your family sits up there, the ones that are aware and know, gonna say, "Oh, well, we're happy that you did this. We happy this happening with you, where you got yourself straight, or whatever." You haven't even gotten yourself straight. They know it. They don't care. They are a part of that system, and how they become a part of it, they are being pretty much puppeteered and don't even know it. We all have faced puppeteering to the point and degree that we don't even know how far out this went, where they want to control you and your day-to-day activities, and they are bold and will say it boldly. We want to control you in your day-to-day activity, and they have other companies involved with it, and some of these companies are screaming that they're here to help you. They are not. Some of these people are screaming we for you. They are not. It When I sat up there and I saw with almost every county in the state of Florida that they are willing to hire vendors for prostitution services, I know it was an issue. Who the hell cleared this? Where is the law that cleared this? Who signed off? Which commissioners signed off on this bull crap? Who signed off on it? When I saw that there was judges seats that hadn't even been voted into office. I didn't vote for you. I sat up there and I looked at who was being elected in, and I don't remember voting for any of y'all being in office. Then they say, "Oh, well, we had a fill in." You got a fill in? Who's your fill in? "Oh, we got a judge filling in that we hired." You don't hire judges. We have to vote in judges. And if a judge cannot be present at a hearing, that means that hearing is called off until they can be present. There is a law and a statute for that. But guess what? Nobody wants to play by the rules. Nobody wants to do what Florida statute says. Nobody wants to do what the law says. And on top of that, they call themselves changing the law. When I sat up there and I seen on a ballot, they're gonna sit up there and they feel like it's a constitutional right that a soldier receives $2,000 a month if he was injured or anything, and his spouse supposed to receive $2,002 a month. And they feel this is a constitutional right that should be actually implemented into the Florida Constitution. I knew right then we all was going to hell. When I seen that Florida wanted its own constitution instead of the U.S. Constitution, I already knew we were going to hell. I already knew that pretty much we were doomed because they chose that decision. But then I'm sitting up here and I'm saying to myself, I say, we have always chose the U.S. Constitution to represent every state in the United States. When the hell did you all make the decision that this was no longer going to be a thing for the United States? There is so many different things that is coming up. People are coming across different issues. Do not forget what this is. Do not forget what we have to do to correct the issue, because it's going to take a lot of correcting. When I say a lot, I mean a lot of correcting. This is not an overnight process, even with soldiers on the ground actually getting petitions signed and all this stuff. And I'm going to be real with you. Be careful. Do not be signing those petitions. Those people be out there pushing. Make sure you are reading those petitions, because in those petitions, they got a lot of different mess. They're going to tell you, "Oh, well, we believe in $15 an hour and we want to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour." Great. But what they didn't tell you is this: you ain't getting hired half of the time when they raise it to $15 an hour. You're not getting the opportunity that you want to get. I can tell you from personal experience, even with the minimum wage being raised to $15 an hour, they only gonna pay you $15.25. if that 1515, maybe 1510, 1505, just to say that they're in compliance or whatever the case may be, and then cut your hours down dramatically where you're doing double the work. I have seen too many things happen. Remember what's going on around you, and if you can't, it's not your fault. Just try to remember, because these people are very manipulative. I remember they said old people do things so slow. They so slow like turtles or whatever. Our thought process have to be like turtles right now and slow it down for ourselves so that we can remember who to deal with, who not to deal with. I never noticed that with the thought process, that there was an interruption in the thought process, like as if someone else is trying to think for you, or just block out that thought process where you're not thinking properly for yourself. This takes place here in the United States, where you're not thinking properly, you're not registering certain things. They will erase everything bad that a person has did to you out of your memory. You're like, hold up, I know this person ain't for me, and stuff like that, and you still have to sit up there and deal with this person because of financial situations, because of certain different things happening. When you have the Department of Children and Families attacking you, and then you have to go to them and ask them for assistance because of this attack, the government ain't on their doggone job. We don't have a government at this point, how I view it. There is no government in place at this point. I feel like they have overthrown the government and stuff like that. I don't feel like they're really in place, the United States government, the way they should be, because what I'm seeing is corporations, companies, um, entities, and stuff like that take over these roles, which is not a bad thing. That's how the government was originally established. But when you have corrupt companies, organizations, and all this different stuff taking this stuff over, it takes you over, under, and through. Those people you don't want to be involved in. You don't want to be involved with rapists. Oh, you're a rapist, but at the same time, you got all this stuff that these people done cleared you for because you're a part of the program or the process in which we know isn't even really the government. This is like a false governmental system being set up, and it's aggravating. It's a problem, and nobody wants to really deal with it. Can you imagine how it is to know for a fact this is a false governmental setup, and people are now stuck in that situation with that false governmental setup that is not for the people, it's not by the people, it's not to liberate the people, it's to put the people in bondage and in slavery. Have you like a handmaiden where men are able to touch you who shouldn't even be touching you. And I don't care if you say that you're a man of God. If you touch a woman that is not your wife, you are not a man of God. You are nothing. But anyway, like I said, remember. Just try to remember. It's going to be a hard process. If you don't, hopefully the ones that do can help protect you. I don't know how to look at this. But the first thing you have to remember, a lot of abuse is happening because we are not given the option to remember, and it's not off of our bodies trying to sit up there. This is another lie that they tell you. Your body is trying to safeguard itself, so it's trying to forget. Your body don't safeguard itself like that. Your body remembers so that it never goes through it again. And when you know that your body remembers, I'm sorry, that's the washing machine, it's real loud. When you know that your body remembers so that it does not have to face that abuse again, your muscles even have remembrance so that it does a certain thing at a certain time. So if I know that remembering is key, they know that too, and that's why they did what they did. Remember how I told you with people, oh, the once I was getting stuff off the trash pile house was nice. You have some people that can get that stuff and fix it up and make it beautiful. Their houses was gorgeous. But guess what? You had other people looking at it and like, okay, well, look, we finna railroad them. We don't want them to have free stuff. We don't want them to have freedom. This is your leftover you care nothing about. And I know you guys know my belief in leftovers because remind you, I did do a thing about okay, you're not done with it, but a person's trying to get it. This ain't even the case. These people are done with it. They just don't want you to have. They don't want it. They don't have nothing to do with it. They just don't want you to have it. Now, that's what happened to Lazarus. Remember, I told you the Lazarus effect, rich man Lazarus effect, and stuff like that. The rich man was going through the same oppression, same abuse, because the rich man couldn't keep nothing until he stopped giving out anything. You get what I'm saying? Lazarus is sitting up there like, okay, well, look, I'm just gonna take what's given, whatever's thrown out as nothing. I'll collect that and make it a treasure. But look what Lazarus faced. And I have been through that as well, where you just using what's thrown out, trash. This is nothing. People have disregarded it. And then they attack you and say, okay, well, this is stuff. This is that. I got this off the trash pile. I didn't steal from nobody. You get what I'm saying? Now, it's different if you see a wallet out there in the trash pile and an ID, and you sit up there and you go take the ID and talk about some, oh, them people throw their ID and all this stuff and credit cards out. You know them people didn't throw that stuff out. But for other stuff that you know nobody wanted, and then they follow you home and arrest you and say theft just to put you in prison. Be careful, people. Stay woke. This war is only just it. Well, I can't even say it just began. This thing been going on for centuries. Just be prepared.